Circle is a magic place, a ring that is unbroken, a comic and a tragic space.
We gather in our sacred space.
Once more we find
A circle of women from diverse backgrounds,
seeking to share experiences and feelings safely and confidentially.
Each woman who wishes to speak may do so without judgment or interruption.
Our intention is to listen and support each other.
And only offer advice if it is requested.
Wow, Pat, I can't believe I have a whole 10 minutes before my next patient. These damn insurance companies make it impossible for us to truly give good patient care.
I hear you. Jean, if you don't mind, I'd like to talk to you about the next topic for our women's circle.
Sure, Pat. That would be a wonderful change from talking about COVID and contraceptives.
So you remember when I spoke at the last circle and told you about me being invited by some girls from Brooklyn to join their group when planning for the women's marches? Oh, that group was so lovely, and they continue to include me in their planning, but I have such trepidation because my local organizers in the Bronx are still insisting that a trans woman is not a woman. Oh, and don't even talk about the anti-Semitism.
That's awful, Pat. And we should be talking about the anti-Semitism as well. You know, let's get you some support during next month's circle. Let's figure out a topic that covers this.
Oh, thanks so much, Jean. I appreciate it. Oh, I hate being the only transgender Jew fighting the FemiNazis.
Welcome everyone to our monthly women's circle. I'm so glad to have you in my home. Before we officially begin, Sandy told me she would be happy to update us on her family situation.
Thanks, Robin. As you know, Julie and I finally got the call from the adoption agency, and they had found us a sweet 5-year-old boy for us. In addition, though, Julie's daughter, Kathy, unexpectedly became pregnant, and right before she was set to be in college at Barnard. And Julie was completely against an abortion. On top of that, we were trying to figure out if we could handle having a newborn and a 5-year-old.
All rise for the Honorable Judge Sandy.
Thank you, Sam. You may all be seated. Sam, what's on the docket today?
This is the case of Julie versus Kathy. Kathy found herself unexpectedly pregnant. She wanted an abortion and her mother, Julie, was against it. In the end, Kathy and her boyfriend, Tim, decided that abortion was the best option for them.
I'm sure that was a difficult decision to make, Kathy. Can you tell me how things are with your mother?
It's been a long, hard road. My mother has not forgiven me for the choice I made, but it was my choice to make.
Now, Julie, I know you love your daughter. I'm sure you were looking forward to having a grandchild.
Yes, Your Honor. It just broke my heart when Kathy told me she had an abortion.
It had to be hard for you, but remember, you do still have your daughter. Don't you want to be a part of her life, regardless of the choice she made?
Of course, Your Honor. I just need some time.
I understand. I understand that you do have a new child in your life to love.
Well, that is true, Your Honor, but I really wanted a child in my life that looks like me. That's why I was so disappointed when Kathy decided to have an abortion.
Just because he's a little 5-year-old boy? Even though Kathy's baby would have shared genes with you, there was no guarantee it would have looked like you. Besides, Kathy could have had a boy as well.
That's not exactly what I meant, Your Honor.
Let's just be honest here, Mom. It's not about the gender, it's about the color of his skin.
I don't see what's wrong with that. We're supposed to be a family. I hate when we are all out in public and people stare at us.
You know, Julie, your preconceptions about relationships and families are ruining yours. Your daughter is distressed by your reaction to her choice, and your little son, I am sure, is picking up on your discomfort when you're out in public. I just have to wonder what your partner thinks of this. It's been difficult, but it will work out. I have faith.
You're right, Sandy. Just give it some time. No matter what, it will work out.
And we're here for you, hon.
Absolutely. So thanks for updating us, Sandy. That was a tough decision. I'm just so glad that for the most part, women have access to legal, safe abortions. Anyway, I think we can officially start our circle, if that's okay. Yeah? All right. So we gather together in our sacred space, a circle of women from diverse backgrounds, seeking to share experiences and feelings safely and confidentially. Each woman who wishes to speak may do so without judgment or interruption. Our intention is to listen and support each other and only offer advice if it is requested. Pat suggested this month's topic. Would you tell the group, please?
Thanks, Robin. Last month, I briefly told you about the gals in Brooklyn who were part of the planning of the Women's March. It was great working with them, and I feel fully included. But I still have made no progress in the group from my own neighborhood in the Bronx. So the topic is, how do we make progress for women's rights when there is misogyny, racism, anti-Semitism, and transphobia right in our own movement?
I love this topic so much, Pat. Thanks for bringing it up. When you came up with the topic, the first thing that popped into my mind was some situations in which therapists behaved in misogynistic ways. You would think that a professional, educated woman who is supposed to be supporting you through changes and growth would not fall prey to subconscious bias. But I have a number of stories to share with you on this.
I believe it, Robin. I had a friend once who went to couples counseling with her verbally abusive husband. When my friend talked about wanting to leave him, the counselor told her to stay because he was so good looking and someone would snatch him up in a minute.
Wow, Leslie, how amazingly inappropriate. I have a similar story from when my husband Brian and I were having some problems. Dr. Poppycock, as I was telling you, I was putting our girls to bed and Brian was out in the living room. One of the girls was having trouble, brushing her teeth. So I went into the living room and asked Brian to help. He immediately yelled, "Can't you see I'm watching my team?"
That doesn't sound so bad. He was enjoying the game.
Okay. So I went in and I managed to get the girls to bed on my own. Then I joined Brian in the living room. And I mentioned that I thought it would be nice to get a new sofa because this one was rather uncomfortable and holiday sales would be going on.
So how did he respond?
He went on a tirade. He started calling me names that I will not repeat. He started telling me that I love spending his money and that the sofa was perfectly fine. He got up and yelled directly in my face. I thought he was going to hit me.
Well, did he?
No, he didn't hit me with his hands, but he devastated me with his angry words. This always happens. I try to bring up something that is important to me, and if he doesn't agree or it's not important to him, he just yells. And it doesn't even matter if it's something really important or trivial. I feel like I can't say anything. He chumps on me no matter what it is.
Well, maybe you need to go on antidepressants so you don't react so much when he yells.
I'm supposed to pop pills so he can yell at me? Like, what the fuck?
It's terrible. Is it with these educated professional women? I mean, most of the organizations of women marchers that I have met fall into that category. They are so ignorant that they literally come out and say that a trans woman is not a woman. And the things they blame on us Jews, simply ridiculous. Maybe they're overly dependent on big pharma and pop pills instead of thinking.
I'll tell you, as an educator, I know that the student has to be ready to receive the lesson. I just can't figure out why women who march for the rights for the oppressed can't see that they're supporting the oppressive systems and attitudes.
Great point, Sandy. But is there anything we can do to hasten their being ready? And what's the best way to get through to as many of them as possible at one time?
Good question, Jean. Maybe we need to organize a march against transphobic march organizers.
I don't know. Maybe this is a case where the path of least resistance is the best choice. Maybe Pat and the rest of us need to work with the organizers who are not transphobic and do a bang-up job.
I love that idea, Leslie. And then we can leave positive reviews on social media for the outstanding work done in advancing the cause of all women.
Jamie, great idea about social media. Maybe we can leave negative reviews for all those misogynistic therapists who tell women to set their expectations lower or recommend medication, rather than suggesting that men have to learn how to identify and express emotions in a healthy way. Female therapists should be supporting women rather than telling them to make themselves smaller.
I have a doozy of a therapist story to share. So when I was 15, I knew I was attracted to women, but I was too shy to actually date. So my mother sent me to a therapist because she didn't understand why I wasn't dating. She thought I was just socially awkward and shy. Well, she sent me to a female therapist who happened to be extremely Christian. I bet you can guess what happened. Mom thought she was sending me for dating tips. Little did she know.
So what happened, Leslie?
I mean, Jamie, I went to the session reluctantly. I knew I didn't want to start dating anyway. But here comes this super Christian woman. And when I opened up and told her I was a lesbian, her gasp was audible. She thought she could pray it out of me. She literally spent the first and last 5 minutes of each session in prayer.
Oh, how awful. What did your mom say?
I didn't tell her. But guess what? The therapist did.
No, she didn't.
Oh my goodness. Seriously? That's really a breach of doctor-patient confidentiality. I mean, I know if a minor is suicidal, the therapist has to alert the parents and the authorities, but this was not something she should have shared.
You better wash that witch right out of your hair.
Luckily, I found the therapist praying amusing. And my mother and I already had a shitty relationship, so it didn't change much. But I will say, 38 years later, I am ready to start dating.
Wow, Leslie, I am so glad that the therapist didn't scar you for life. I had kind of the opposite situation. My mother thought I was too promiscuous. She found out that I got birth control, which I was using so my steady boyfriend and I didn't have an unwanted pregnancy.
That sounds very responsible of you. But if you don't mind me asking, and you don't have to answer, but how did your mom find out?
Small towns. You know how it is. Everyone knows everybody's business. I personally think it was that doctor, a woman, who felt she could just tell my mother about the birth control.
Yeah, Jamie, it totally floors me what educated professional women in healthcare will say and do. My friend Penelope was going to a female therapist where she was trying to work out what to do about her abusive husband. You would not believe what this therapist asked her.
This sounds like it's going to be a doozy.
Hold on to your hats, ladies. The female therapist asked Penelope, well, can you put up with that? Maybe you need to lower your expectations.
Oh,
Ugh,
What?
No way.
exactly. Penelope was just looking for permission to leave the bastard, and because of this therapist, she ended up staying in the marriage for 4 more years. You know, it started out as verbal abuse, but over the course of time, he became physically violent. Yeah, I sure would like to leave that therapist a bad review on social media.
She
Ugh.
deserves it. Come
Mhm.
on, ladies, let's tweet for our rights.
right?
Mm.
It's too bad doctors don't get reviewed on social media. So many people don't even know about health grades and other sites to review medical professionals on. I have
Mm.
some stories to tell you about from a recent healthcare convention I went to. There were doctors, nurses, and other healthcare professionals, mostly women.
Are we sure we want to hear this?
Be afraid. Be very afraid.
Well, the conference was about how to better serve women through healthcare. Most of the attendees were women, so I thought, great, this will be a pro woman feminist learning experience. Boy, was I wrong. Talk about disappointment. I'll just give you one example that really blew me away. We were discussing the disparity in treatment between pregnant white women and minorities. And despite the evidence, many of the female healthcare workers insisted that treatment was equitable.
What?
And I know that.
Yeah, and that's even though the United States overall is awful when it comes to infant and maternal mortalities.
I remember reading a professional journal about that. The United States has the highest maternal mortality rate of all developed countries. And Black women experience maternal mortality 2 to 3 times higher than white women.
Exactly. Can you imagine how the healthcare workers of color felt hearing the denial? I think they were in shock because if they couldn't get acknowledgement at a professional conference, where the hell can they?
It's cognitive dissonance, really. If white healthcare professionals accepted those statistics, they would have to admit that systemic racism exists in medical care.
Oh, I am so sick of these damned privileged wannabe feminists. Even in my own house, Julie says she's a feminist and supports all marginalized people. Ah, she's just giving lip service. I mean, once she fired our Latina housekeeper, accusing her of stealing. And it just turned out that Julie had simply misplaced a ring, but she immediately assumed that it was Mrs. Gomez.
Oh my God. That's the whole issue we're talking about. So many women claim to be progressive and woke, yet they continue to perpetuate systemic misogyny, racism, and other forms of oppression. Hell, maybe your partner Julie should join those feminazis that are giving Pat a hard time.
That was a good one. We needed that. Don't they say that laughter is the best medicine? And with that, our time is just about up. I'd like to read the closing and invite everyone to stay and chat if you'd like. Our circle of women is always stronger than the patriarchy. May we all leave here with renewed strength and purpose.
What do you think I should do? Should I take the path of least resistance and just continue my work with the women in Brooklyn, or accept trans women as women? Or do you think I should put effort into educating and persuading the women of the Bronx who currently see trans women as less than women? Or do I pursue a lawsuit for discrimination practiced by those feminazis? You decide. Voting information and links are below in the description. Watch for the next episode of A Circle of Women based on your votes. And be sure to subscribe to Spoonie Theater YouTube channel so you'll never miss an episode.
A circle is a magic place, a ring that is unbroken, a comic and a tragic space, depending on what's spoken. Once more we find ourselves inside, we're looking and we're seeking. We're brave because we shall not hide, as each her truth is speaking. And each one speaks the truth she lives. Now softly we each thank her. No judgment, only praise we give. We feel no need to rank her. Our circle is a gift we share, each sister now who's for us. And every voice is full of care, and each one joins our chorus.